We're coming to you a few days after Halloween, so how about we get things started with classic Halloween jump scare?
It is scary. It did scare me when I saw
It
it.
is really scary. Did it make you? Oh, did it give you a
Ugh.
jolt, Caroline?
Yeah,
Yeah,
a little bit.
terrifying. Caroline Morrison, you're here. It's the Corkboard Chronicle, of course. Sorry to start on such a note. This is just a little terrifying. Caroline and I laughed about it earlier in the week. So, Caroline, how's it going? How's it been?
It's been good, It's been a while, but
I
things are
know.
fine.
I wish I had actually looked up when last we uploaded, but I think it was like September 18th or 19th or something like that. So it's
Yeah.
been a good like month and a half. And then they announced on Halloween our next lineup, and you folks at home, you fans at home know how that works. When they announce, here comes Caroline and Kirby to talk about the announcement. So we're finally here, and hoping this comes out the day before Election Day. So this is a crazy time. Halloween just ended. Election Day. We're 5 episodes into the season. Caroline, how are you feeling so far?
Um, in terms of the season, good. In terms of
Yeah,
election day, so-so.
we'll see. You know what?
Yeah.
That's what we learned after 2016 is maintaining some distance. Don't call it
Yeah.
too early because you never know. But yeah, so should be an eventful week, folks. More on that later.
Yes.
So because Halloween just ended, I wanted to show you. I was scrolling through Twitter and I was like, wow, we really have some fans out there who like dressed the part, who were like showing their love for our podcast. Take a look at some of these costumes. This is for us, right? This isn't for anybody
Yes.
else.
I
Yeah,
would have
this
to
is like
assume.
they're fans of Caroline and Kirby, and they're looking so forward to this episode that we're talking about Charlie XCX that it became their Halloween costume. Another thing that made me laugh about this was they announced on Halloween the lineup on October
Yeah.
31st, meaning that these two did not have a costume until like 4 in the afternoon, which is just perfect. Great looks, everybody. Nice work. Um, okay, so here we are. The biggest news, as we got about 8 pages here of rundown. But the biggest news, I would say, the biggest headline coming out of SNL is that at around 7:45 last night, they announced, last night being Saturday night, they announced that Kamala Harris was going to make a surprise appearance. Where were you when the news came down from on high?
Where was I? I was in Tulsa at my parents' house,
Nice.
and my sister turned to me and said, "Did you see that Kamala Harris is going to be on SNL?" And I said, "Yeah, I already saw. I know."
I I work a news SNL news podcast. How would I not know? Um, yeah, that was huge. And what I loved about it was the timing
Hmm.
because they had like if you don't announce, then like it happens and you don't get the ratings bump out of it.
Yeah.
But they announced at about 7:45, 8 p.m. Eastern time, which is exactly when the dress rehearsal begins, 8 p.m.
Hmm.
So what happened was they waited until the whole audience was on their property and the phones were off and
Yep.
everybody was disconnected from the outside world, then announced to all of us so that they could still maintain the surprise for the people in the room, which
It's a
they
good
totally did.
strategy.
Yeah. At least, I mean, that's how it feels like it worked out.
Yeah.
I've never gotten to see the show, but I do believe that, like, once the dress rehearsal audience is in, then the air audience is being held, waiting,
Hmm.
um, waiting to go in when it's their turn. So very very cool way to kind of still drum up that publicity, but keep the surprise for the people in the room, and they were definitely shocked.
Yes.
What I also liked, I don't know, I can't roll the clip because got in trouble for that last time. But if you watch the clip, if you go to the Kamala Harris cold open and watch the clip, what you'll find is that when they first cut to her, the area she's in behind the mirror is kind of dark, and then
Hmm.
everything lightens up after that shot's been live for a few seconds. And they do the same thing for Weekend Update. They have these large black like fabric like partitions basically, so that the audience can't necessarily see what's about to roll out on Weekend Update. And they probably use that all the time. They probably use that
Right.
tactic constantly. But they 100% had Kamala Harris stuffed in that box, and then and then slowly revealed her to the crowd once it was safe to do so. It was perfect. It was wonderful. And so I'm looking back, there's only
Hmm.
been one other, and don't read into this, people. I'm telling you right now, don't you dare. But it is truth that the only other major lead candidate to appear in person the Saturday before an election was John McCain in 2008.
Oh.
Other candidates have appeared in the run up
Hmm.
to the election, but it was usually like about a year out or so.
Right.
Actually, well, maybe a couple months, because I think like Mike Huckabee showed up, but he wasn't a main candidate. But anyway,
Yeah.
regardless, like that was a huge deal to, 3 days before an election to show up and
Right.
do an SNL sketch. I mean, yeah,
It's interesting
it's
that that's
crazy.
what she chose as her kind of like big TV appearance pre-election. She's like, yeah, give me an SNL. It's a good strategy, I think, but it is an interesting
I,
one.
I think so too, but you got to think like there's just not a lot of crossover, both sides coming together kind
Hmm.
of like media out there anymore. I mean,
Right.
it was interesting that she chose SNL because again, I feel like that audience may be aligned. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
the votes are already in for that particular crowd, but also just the fact of the lineup being John Mulaney and Chappell Roan, like
Hmm.
that episode is going to be playing in a lot of households. So it was still, regardless, it was history, and I loved it dearly.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Okay, so now there was so much we did a lot of speculating. This is what this podcast is for. It is a haven for speculation.
Hmm.
So now we know the answer to our full slate, our political actors this year. We've
Yep.
got, obviously, Maya Rudolph as Kamala Harris. We knew that. We knew James Austin Johnson as Donald Trump.
Hmm.
Bowen Yang as J.D. Vance was very surprising. And I think, yeah, he did debut that on the Gene Smart episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yes.
very, very good. And he's doing like a really good, solid impression because they both have that kind of like baritone, you know, voice. And when Bowen puts it in monotone, like he's doing
Hmm.
pretty good JD. Yeah.
I wouldn't have, out of the current cast, if you had asked me who they're going to have play JD Vance, would not have chosen Bowen, obviously. Not the obvious
Yeah.
choice there, but I think it's
Right.
great. I love it.
Yeah. It's fantastic. But then, yeah, because then if I had been thinking about it, which I probably should have, we might have talked
Yeah.
about it last episode, but um, like James Austin Johnson, busy, even though he
Hmm.
is like the resident impressionist.
Right.
Um, maybe Daryl Hammond would have come to mind, but he's just much older than JD Vance at this point.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know who that would have really fallen to. Michael Longfellow, but
Too
it's
tall.
not the same energy there. Yeah, so
No.
it's a good choice. And then Jim Gaffigan was a big
That surprised
reveal
me.
as Tim Walz, because the only thing that they had released was that Steve Martin said no.
Right.
Um, and he did an interview talking about like I just didn't feel right. It's like okay.
Yeah.
Um, but man, he's doing a really good Tim Walz.
It is so good. Yeah,
Yeah,
another like I would never have said, "Oh, well they should get Jim Gaffigan." It wasn't even on my
yeah,
radar,
right,
but it's
right.
a
It's
great
very out of
choice.
nowhere. because he's never even hosted before. I don't
No,
know if
that was
he.
the thing.
Yeah, he's definitely never hosted. I don't think he's even like made a walk-on cameo. So
I don't think
a
so.
brand new, like, you know, new to the SNL game
Yeah.
face for this. I mean, the last time that someone made like their first appearance as a like political figure was probably had to been during like the Democratic uh primary era,
Hmm.
but even before that, the only thing that comes to mind is James Corden showing up as Boris
Yeah,
Johnson,
that's
which was
right.
only one time. But
Yeah.
um yeah, doesn't happen
Hmm.
often. Usually it's a friend of the show, but here's Jim
Right.
Gaffigan, and he's doing really well. Andy Samberg is Doug Emhoff. I know someone has to play him at some point,
Do
but
they?
well, I mean, in terms of
I
like, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's even
I
required,
guess
but
it would. I'm surprised that he was contracted for this all the same episodes. I would have expected maybe an appearance in the first one,
mhm,
but to have it be every week, I was kind of like, oh, okay, I
yeah.
guess.
And then we'll get into it, but of course, like a few episodes in, they kind of ran out of room for Doug Emhoff, like to put
Yeah.
him in a political sketch. I think that's what I'm getting at is like
Hmm.
it's a great choice, of course,
Yeah,
if
I'm gonna
for
watch.
that impression
Give me Andy Samberg. I'll take it.
any day of the week,
Yeah.
please. But as one of the contracted people, which
Right.
our understanding is that, you know, Maya Rudolph, Jim Gaffigan, Dana Carvey, we'll get to him in a mo, and Andy Samberg were all part of the same deal.
Hmm.
What's unclear still, I don't know if it's unclear actually, it's just unclear to me, whether it was only up until the election or whether it was through the season.
Right.
Um, yeah. But the way that Andy Samberg's Doug Emhoff kind of got a bit of a send off last night
Yes. Yeah.
makes me think that maybe they're sunsetting that particular impression. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, he might pop back up a couple more times, but I think it would be really hard to write him in every week.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep him as like a requirement.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
We'll see.
I just don't know what's going to happen with the election. It could go like this could be months. It could be another couple of months, even though technically it's
Yeah,
over in the next 2 days.
that is true. Would not be
Yeah.
surprising.
Ugh. We'll see. Let's leave that there for now.
Yeah.
Dana Carvey. Dana Carvey walks on as Joe Biden. I was speechless.
Yeah.
I was
Who would have
speechless.
thought?
So when Jim Gaffigan walked on as Tim Walz, I hadn't felt that level of, oh my God, this is amazing,
Hmm.
since Melissa McCarthy made the surprise entrance as Sean Spicer.
Yes.
And then when Dana Carvey walked out, I hadn't had that feeling since Jim Gaffigan
Jim
had walked
Gaffigan.
out 6 minutes ago.
Right.
And it was one thing to see a new person playing Joe Biden, but the second he started talking, it was like somebody found it. Somebody
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
found that impression.
They've been trying for however many years now,
Yeah.
just kind of cycling through whoever was available or whoever was on the cast, and I think they finally, they found him. It's a little late to finally find him, but they
Well,
did
and
it.
I'll clarify that Jason Sudeikis had a good impression, but he had a good
Yes.
impression of 2012 Joe Biden,
Vice President
2008
Joe
Joe
Biden,
Biden,
yeah.
right? The more
Hmm.
classic Joe Biden, and uh, 2020 and 2024 Joe Biden, obviously very different.
Not the same
Um,
guy.
yeah. So, and uh, I think James Austin Johnson's impression was good, but
Right.
obviously everybody in the room knew that he wasn't going to have it for the election. And
Right, yeah.
so, huge mystery, but it's actually, and unfortunately I don't have this clip loaded up. Maybe I can put it in the edit, but it was very interesting hearing him talk. So the big thing that stuck in my mind is guess what? And by the way,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of repeated turn of phrase, and then folks, no
Right.
joke, and what he was, there's a clip of him on Al Franken's podcast about 6 months ago where he was talking about working on a Joe Biden impression.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to find that hook and trying to find those things that he does a lot, and he's like, one of the big things he said was like, he will be telling this just god awful, depressing story, and then say, "That's not a joke." It's like no one in the room thought you were joking, but he really felt the need to let you know, no joke.
It's not, yeah, no
Um,
joke. Yeah.
yeah, and like obviously Dana Carvey's the master at like finding those. I think he calls them micro impressions. He'll find like that one word or that one
Mm-hmm.
mannerism that encapsulates the person.
Yeah.
And man, this one really at least stuck with me. I had guess what, and by the way, stuck in my head like for weeks to come. After he did that on the first episode, it was incredible.
It was, yeah, it was great. It was such a shock again. I mean, it was
Hmm.
just this big, like, who's it gonna be? And I would never have guessed Dana Carvey, and I love it.
Yeah,
And I'm happy to see
yeah.
him every week.
Oh my God, it's fantastic that like A, he did it, he did
Yeah.
come back, and B, that he's still that good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It's just incredible. I actually had the opportunity to see a Whose Line Is It Anyway live show that had come to New York. I don't did I tell you about this?
I
Maybe.
don't think so.
No. Okay. I had an extra ticket and I was texting everybody I knew, even people that didn't live here. I was like,
Should
"You
have
might be
texted
able
me.
to
I
get in. I don't know."
would have
I
flown
know.
out.
I know. You could have hopped the train again. That would have been great.
Yeah.
But I had that feeling again seeing like Ryan Stiles in person.
Oh,
You go
yeah.
into an improv show and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to get. Ryan Stiles has been doing Whose Line in some capacity for like 30 years,
Yeah.
and it is still so fresh and so good.
He's
He's incredible,
amazing.
and I have that same feeling seeing Dana Carvey on the show
Mm-hmm.
every week too. Um, just perfect. So, well, here's another thing that I wanted to show you because I don't know if I sent this to you. I just told you about it, but I didn't send you the actual
Mm-hmm.
thing. I do have this clip.
Okay.
I had that same feeling I had watching Dana Carvey do his Joe Biden, watching Jim Gaffigan do his Tim Walz.
Mm-hmm.
Had that same feeling on a recent episode of Conan. Billy Crystal was on and was
Love.
telling a story. Oh, perfect! Telling a story about the first night of Saturday Night Live when he got cut and everything. And he casually drops the best Don Pardo impression I have ever seen in all my days. Like, again, another one that I feel like people have tried and have
Yeah.
almost gotten there. Just give this a listen, please.
Okay.
That was the piece I was going to do, but I was going to use Don Pardo.
Mm-hmm. The announcer.
He was the announcer with just a close-up of his hands
Mm-hmm.
and his wonderful, silly voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now what do I do, Bill? That thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was speechless. I had to pause. I'm on the train and I had to pause it and just sit. I was like,
Take it in.
what did I just hear? He's back. You know what I mean? Don has risen. I need another hit of that.
Here.
Now what do I do, Bill? That
That's
thing.
Yeah.
incredible.
It's
That's
spot
amazing.
on.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
It's like you've been sitting on that for 50 years. Like,
Right.
oh, that was so good. Anyway, another genius, another one that's always going to be doing it
Yeah.
at the best.
Absolutely.
Oh man. So anyway, I had to share that with everybody. Okay. Caroline, I want to do a bit of an exercise here because it is election season. We have an election in 2 days, and it has me looking back fondly at the impressions what came before. And so we have this in my office. There's like a whiteboard that's like gridded out that used to be used for something real, but nowadays we just like come up with things to rate. Like
Okay.
Halloween candy was the most recent one, rated out of 10. So
Mhm.
I figured we could do a similar exercise here, but with the SNL presidential impressions of from
Okay.
the beginning to now, the most impactful ones, and see what we think about them in retrospect. So, because that is legitimately the board in my office right now, is all of these people's impressions, because we all watch SNL at the office too.
Yeah.
So first up, one that started it all, Mr. Chevy Chase as Gerald Ford. I gave this one, I think, a 9 because it's not a very accurate impression, but again, it started it all. Before 1976, there was no understanding that like we required a debate sketch, and now it's commonplace.
Right. Yeah. I guess you do look back and kind of take that for granted that it wasn't always just a given that there was going to be some political component somewhere and that somebody
Mhm.
had to have a good enough impression of whoever was the president.
And this was what, I mean, this definitely helped him, skyrocket to that fame he experienced in the late 70s. I mean, it also helped that he did Weekend Update. It was him being introduced as himself, and it got in people's heads. But when he was, making fun of the president, which I'm sure had happened before, but not as regularly as he was doing it on the show leading up to, or I guess just the whole first season. So yeah, I give this a 9. What say you?
9's probably good just because, it is so establishing in
Mm-hmm.
kind of the show going forward.
Yeah, set
Maybe
the
I'll
tone.
knock it down to an 8 just because it's Chevy
Uh-oh.
Chase.
Yeah, that does have an issue.
Bump up against that.
How he developed,
Yeah.
in the ensuing 50 years. Next up, we got Dan Aykroyd as good old Jimmy Carter. I really liked this impression. This particular sketch is the one that like sticks in my mind, where he's like on a radio show helping people do anything. He talks a guy down from like some pill high. It's great. Watch the sketch. I don't remember what I gave this. I think I gave it an 8 or a 9. That's what I'll go with. Another 9. How's that?
Ooh, another 9. Okay, I'll go another 8. I'm just not that familiar. I'm not as familiar with it.
Okay,
But
that's
I mean,
all right.
I'm sure that
yeah.
it's
Yeah, I don't know if he did it super often, because like this original cast would not have covered another election other than 1976.
right.
Because then the fall of 1980 was the next batch. So he probably didn't do too many of these, but he was the go-to guy. Now, I made a call here because obviously there's a more frequent impersonator of Ronald Reagan, but I really like this sketch. I don't know if you've seen it, but this is Robin Williams as Ronald Reagan when he hosted in season, I want to say 13, maybe 12. It's a really good sketch. Basically what happens is he has an earpiece and his like operatives are feeding him answers to reporter questions, but the earpiece that he has is getting interference from like radio stations and sports broadcasts and air traffic control and stuff like that. And it's that kind of like it's just a very, very Robin Williams kind of sketch. I won't say it aged the best. Some of the things he says are like, oh, that's what we were saying in 1986. But in terms of like a Robin Williams performance and impression, this one was really solid. So I gave it I believe I gave it a 10.
A 10.
Yeah.
Wow, I'll take your word for it. It's Robin Williams.
Okay.
I'm sure it was incredible. 10.
Yeah. Oh, he's just amazing. He can do
I'll
anything.
have to check it out.
We know who this is. He's on the show these days quite a bit. Dana Carvey's George H.W. I gave it another 10.
That's a 10 easy.
H.W. never said not gonna do it. He never said 1,000 points of light. He's just
It's these things
that
that
was
we associate with him because of this impression.
because of Dana Carvey, and I think
Yeah.
I don't know. That's definitely not missing because there are elements of that in present day impressions. It's like James Austin Johnson's Donald Trump doing like the rundown style
Right.
thing where it's like a stream of consciousness like rant.
Yeah.
Donald Trump doesn't necessarily do that every time he speaks, but adding that little that like quirk of his, that
Mhm.
was something that like Dana Carvey is like an expert at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave that's a big 10. Now we've got Phil Hartman as Bill
Mhm.
Clinton, who he didn't play often, like too often, but did play him really well in a couple of sketches. I gave this an 8 or a 9 again. I'm forgetting I rated all these already, and now I'm forgetting what I said.
Right. This one I've only seen a few times. I'll give it an 8 just because I don't know that it's when I think SNL Bill Clinton, I don't immediately go to Phil Hartman, but I have seen it and it is good.
Yeah. This particular sketch is probably the most iconic line of the whole
Mhm.
Clinton campaign because he had just been elected, maybe not even. I'm wondering which side of like the 92-93 season this was. I know it was in 92, but which side of the election this sketch aired.
Yeah.
And during this moment that is on the screen, he's like, "Oh, come on, I want to stop at McDonald's," and the Secret Service guy's like, "Fine, but don't tell Mrs. Clinton." And he turns around and
Mhm.
says, "Trust me, there's a lot of things we're not going to be telling Mrs. Clinton." In 1992, SNL said that. Crazy.
They knew something.
They knew something.
Someone knew something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's who you're thinking of
That's
as Bill Clinton. I think I gave this a 9.
Yeah,
Maybe a
that's a
10.
great one. I would give
Yeah.
it. I mean, it's Daryl Hammond. He's just so good.
Yeah. I remember what happened. I think I did give it a 9 because it is a picture-perfect impression, but late night as a whole, entertainment as a whole, did not handle the Monica Lewinsky scandal in a way that ages well, and that has
No.
to bring it
Notch
down
it
a
down,
bit,
yeah.
unfortunately.
9
Yeah.
sounds good to me, yeah.
But the impression, perfect.
I'm laughing just thinking about it.
Exactly! That's the thing! Strategery! I mean, come on! 10.
Yeah, 10.
I gave it a
easy.
big 10.
Yeah.
100%. Might have swayed the election. It was so good.
Yeah, made him a little bit more likable than maybe he should have been.
That the whole like would you want to grab a beer with him like
Yes.
metric didn't
Yeah.
even exist before this election, and here we are. Same election, same sketch even this screenshot comes from is Daryl Hammond as Al Gore. Our
Mhm.
first one that did not actually make it to the presidency on this
Right.
list, but you'll see as we go down this list, like some of the candidates were just as iconic as the one who ended up winning. So
Yeah.
I believe I gave this an 8 or a 9, maybe a 9, maybe a 10. Again, I need to relook at my
Not quite sure.
my rating. Yeah.
It's,
Point is, I
it's-
liked it.
Yeah, it's Daryl Hammond. I'm sure it's an 8 or 9 or 10.
Yeah. Perfect. And we've got
I mean,
Tina Fey as Sarah Palin. It does not get much better than this. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 10.
10, that's an easy 10. I remember how crazy it was when Sarah Palin kind of came onto the scene as the vice presidential candidate and everybody went, "Is that Tina Fey?" And then
Yeah.
there she was.
And Lauren capitalized on that.
Yeah,
And
he said, "Tina,
she's
come
told
back."
the story before. Yeah, she's told the story before where basically like he asked her to do it and she never really gave a yes or a no.
Yeah.
And then basically the week ran out of time and she was still thinking about it, and then the next thing she knew, she was reading that cold open with Amy Poehler, and,
Yep.
and here we are. Sarah Palin is always Tina Fey. Jay Farrow's Barack Obama.
Mhm.
So Fred Armisen played Barack Obama,
I remember that.
which was
Yeah.
not the best choice. And
It was,
I was
yeah.
like, it's okay. But when Jay
Yeah.
Farrow, it was another one of those moments where it's like, now somebody's got it. Finally, we've arrived.
Did they hire him for that purpose? Like not for that purpose, but like what they did with James Austin Johnson?
Yeah,
Where
I
he had
actually
that
don't
impression
know.
and they were like, okay. Because I know that
I'm not
Jay
sure.
does impressions. That's like his thing.
Right.
But
yeah, I don't know if he had one locked and loaded. He was on the show for several years prior to
it was until
like the
Fred
2012
left.
election. Yeah, actually, he took over for the 2012 election, so Fred was still on, but they made the switch into season 38 for Jay Farrow to play him instead.
Okay.
Which I think was the right call for sure. He had a really good one.
Yeah, he gets the voice like perfect. The the whole like idiosyncrasies.
Yep, facial expressions, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're entering the modern era.
Yeah.
The point of no return in terms of like the celebrity cameos. Here's my rubric. I do remember what I rated Alec Baldwin's Donald Trump.
Okay.
I gave it a 5. Now,
Yeah.
that might sound shocking, but the way I saw it was it started as a 9.
Yes.
Started as a 9 because it is a good impression and a very good, 2016 Donald Trump caricature. Mm-hmm. But I take off a point for every year that he continued to do it that he probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, I think it started out and everybody was like, "Oh, this is good," and it never really was anything else. I don't know. It was pretty one note, I guess, the whole time.
Yeah, well, I don't know. And part of that was, and this wasn't Alec Baldwin's fault at all,
Right.
It was barely the show's fault, was that those cold opens became less of a I don't know how to put it. They became more of an onslaught of like, if you weren't paying attention to every single little thing that happened throughout the week, you were going to probably be a little confused by the cold opens. And so like they would try to stuff so much because there was so much happening that it became too much.
Yes.
And ultimately it would just hit like noise. Like with as many cameos and as many like surprise appearances and everything that came out of that season in particular, the fact that I can't remember more than 2 cold opens from 2016 to 2020 is not a good thing.
Yeah. No, I fully agree.
Yeah. So anyway, what would did you say? You also say 5 or around
5's
there?
good. Yeah.
Again, in the moment, in the when they made the announcement that he was going to be playing Donald Trump, you're probably talking a 9 or a 10, but it just didn't stick around. But his opponent, Kate McKinnon's Hillary Clinton,
this was good.
I gave this a 9 or a 10. I think a 10.
10 sounds right. I mean, yeah, that's like iconic. Kate McKinnon is Hillary. Yeah.
And on topic because she got to meet her own, impression in a sketch in 2015. So, it's just I love when that happens.
It is fun.
Very similar joke to actually that wasn't Kate's Hillary Clinton. That was Amy Poehler's Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
Where she goes, "Do I really laugh like that?" And it's like, "Yeah, well, kind of." That same line happened last night, which I don't mind that much because they both have iconic laughs. Now we're really present day. We've already discussed this at length. 10s across the board for Dana Carvey's Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Keep it coming. James Austin Johnson's Donald Trump, he does a really similar to Joe Biden, where it's like that impression is different in 2012 versus 2024. Donald Trump's Alec Baldwin's Donald Trump is the 2016
Yes.
Donald Trump. That
Yeah.
would not fly today. It barely flew in 2020.
Right.
And James Austin Johnson has the perfect present day
Yeah.
Donald Trump. I think I gave it a 10.
It's excellent, yeah. 10.
And it's finally a cast member,
Right, yeah.
playing
It
a
was
president.
right, because for a while they were just kind of, well, the whole Jim Carrey like half-season contract to play Biden, and they were really kind of just pulling in big cameos, but this I think was the right choice to have somebody who just like has a solid impression on the cast.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't include the Jim Carrey Biden in this list just because that whole season has so many asterisks, like
Yeah.
not really fair to evaluate, but it seemed like he
Right.
had a good time.
Yeah, I think so.
And here she is, the woman herself that got to meet the woman herself, Maya
Yeah.
Rudolph, Kamala Harris. I gave this one a 10 as well.
She has studied Kamala.
Oh, for
She's
sure.
got
For
the
sure.
voice, the laugh, all of it down. And it's just, I
Yeah.
mean, it's Maya. It's fun. She's good.
Because I think if you go back to the 2019 like primary time,
Mm-hmm.
you're still seeing just Maya being Maya in the
Right,
Kamala
yeah.
impression. It's different now. It's 100%. Like she's locked it in.
Yeah, I think when Kamala became the nominee, I feel like Maya sat down and was like, okay,
Yep, we're gonna get
let
this
me
done.
yeah, right.
Yep. So there we are, present day. That's our walk down memory lane, our SNL election special, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, airs tomorrow, or today, depending on when you're listening to this. So yeah, there we are. So that's all our election stuff. I want to talk about more breaking news in a
Mm-hmm.
way. Okay, and this is going to lead into our conversation about the shows coming up. So Bowen Yang spent a lot of the viewers will notice that this is, as much as this is an SNL podcast, this is probably going to be a Las Culturistas podcast as well.
Recapping
a Las
our podcast,
Culturistas
yeah.
recap podcast.
Yeah.
But man, he got a little loose-lipped, and I was ready to talk
Mm-hmm.
about this. Like, I mean, regardless whether or not Charlie XCX was actually announced, but he might have spoiled it a day
bit.
too early.
Brat was the album of the year.
And there's more to come from Charlie. I can say that.
What? Can you say that?
I can.
You detonate bombs in the culture.
She is, she's appearing, is what I'm going to say.
Bowen, are you allowed to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
No, he's not allowed
There's
to do.
no
Come
way
on.
he's allowed to do that.
There's absolutely no way. And it's like, yeah, sure, he didn't say where she was appearing,
Right.
but please, it
like,
doesn't
yeah.
take a big leap.
No.
So yeah, I was ready to come on here and be like, mark your calendars, it's coming. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wouldn't have guessed that she was doing both.
I
at
thought it
all.
was just going to be a musical guest situation.
Yeah, me too. And she's going to be hosting, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it's going to be interesting. The other thing that I think he talked his way into, and you know,
Mhm.
we talked about this at length. Yeah, it's already a sad face on. He talked about, well, how about I just let him say it and then we'll synthesize.
And you know what? The only reason I haven't been able to get into Halloween as much in the last 5 years is because of work. And I am excited for a day soon, in the near future, in the next few years,
One short day.
when I can really stretch out my legs and limbs in October and all of fall, really. Because I love fall travel. I love going to see the leaves change. I'm excited to have time.
Makes you wonder just how soon he's talking about this happening. He kind of stumbled into saying like it's happening the next October.
I'm thinking next fall is what he's shooting
Yeah,
for.
his schedule's probably going to open way up, which will be a tragedy, but not something that would surprise us at all. I think we talked on the first episode about how a mass exodus after season 50 isn't going to shock anybody.
Yeah, it'll be sad to see everybody go, but he's been there for how
This is
long
his
now?
6th year
6?
on the cast, 7th if you
Mm-hmm.
include the year writing. Yeah.
Oh, right. He did write for a year before he was cast.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's like kind of that's around the average, I feel like,
Hmm.
for people to decide to move on.
Yeah, for sure.
But
And now, like a
it'll be sad.
blockbuster appearing actor, Wicked in theaters
Yeah.
soon.
I feel like he's constantly filming movies or shows or
Hmm.
something, and so I feel like he'll probably go and start focusing on that stuff.
Yep. And you know what? Bowen Yang, we salute you.
I'll
Um,
watch whatever he's in, even if it's not
exactly.
SNL.
Twist my arm, Guess we're following him. Um, so yeah, just keep an eye on all those
Yeah.
on Las Culturistas, because clearly, if he's looking for a summer departure, he might not be so careful anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see. So yeah, I want to pivoting next
Hmm.
topic. I want to go into some a YouTube comment I saw. Actually, no. Oh no. Before that, I'm sorry. Speaking of the Charlie XCX
Mm.
hosting, and the host and musical guests that we'll get to, I was having this conversation with someone at work, and I'm finding it interesting, some of the booking choices they're making
Yeah.
this season. It seems like they are still treating it like any other season. It's what people are talking about. It's a mix of new acts and old.
Hmm.
And I mean, I like it because we all know the story that Adele shared on when she hosted in 2020, her monologue, where basically she was like SNL was her first TV appearance over here in the US,
Yes.
and that episode that she appeared on was the first one that Sarah Palin, the real Sarah Palin, was going to
Right.
appear on. And
Yes.
so she credits her success over here, her career taking off in the US, to the fact that she appeared on a very well watched episode, very highly anticipated episode. So
Right.
there's something to be said for letting these smaller acts get the chance, like
Hmm.
the post-election episode. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that. But so I don't know, because I get the feeling, I get the need to want to break a band like that. But I'm on the fence about it, and I want to know your thoughts too.
I guess with it being season 50, I kind of assumed it would be like one big retrospective of the past 50 years of the show, and we'd get a lot of like former cast members or like the iconic hosts that were never cast, but you kind of just associate them with SNL. And that really hasn't happened
Hmm.
at all.
Yeah.
There hasn't
I
been like those, I guess John Mulaney, but that's a
Yeah, John
more
Mulaney, but
recent tradition, I feel like.
yeah, no, you're right. The earliest that this batch of 5 has hosted, well, was Michael Keaton, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
But before that, but since then, Ariana Grande is your oldest quote unquote
That's
host, second to Michael Keaton, which
right.
is wild, you
Yeah,
know?
I guess I thought that somewhere in there we'd get somebody who was a part of the like SNL family in the way that like you would
Hmm.
assume they would be for season 50. But yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
they are just kind of treating it like it's any other season, and it's a
Hmm.
mix of people you know and people you don't know as well. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. And honestly, not too surprising, because season 40 wasn't like that either. It was not
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
but 50 just, it seemed like it was going to be different. So,
Hmm.
I mean, I was a little thrown by the musical guest, but I'm also unfamiliar with the musical guest. So,
Yeah.
for the November 9th show.
Had not heard of
So
him. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Again, we'll get to the in-depth coverage of that selection in just a couple of moments, but I found one of the best ideas just out in the wild. This is a YouTube comment on Marcelo, I think it's Marcelo and Michael Longfellow's segment where they played the doctors, the two guys dressed as doctors.
Yes. Okay.
That was a Cut for Time Weekend Update segment. And someone commented this, and my jaw dropped. I was like, wait a second. This is actually would be really fun. SNL should collect Cut for Time segments and incorporate them when SNL goes off for vacation.
I
And
mean,
that sounds thrilling to me. Even if you only do it like twice.
right. Yeah, I would
You know?
love that. Just like on
Yeah.
one of their off weeks, just
Yep.
put together an hour even of some cut for time stuff from the past few weeks. Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah. Just like these little compilation things, because is it weird? Like it would be weird stuff for sure.
It'd be stuff that
But
probably like, didn't quite work or was
right,
a little
right.
too hard
But
logistically.
like people might be into that. You know what I mean? Even again, a couple times a year.
Yeah.
But
There's some cut for time sketches that I'll go back and watch because I'm like, and then you watch them and
yeah,
you're like, how did this not make it on the show? And you just chalk it up to
exactly.
the audience. I don't know, but
Yeah. Well, a lot
yeah,
of times
that'd
it's
be
like stuff
fun.
early in the show
Right.
went too well and took too
Right.
long, so they just
Yeah.
had no room. One I always go back to is Will Ferrell as the drama teacher.
The cast list, of course, yeah. That's like
The cast list, yep.
iconic cut for time. Yeah.
And so I don't know if you know my friend of the show, friend of all the podcasts in Jeopardy, Kate Konechny. Have you met her before?
I don't think so.
Probably not. She was not only present for that episode, but present for that sketch. She was in the dress rehearsal audience for cast list.
Mhm.
And if that were me, that would be my fun fact
Oh, yeah.
everywhere I went for the rest of my life. This is such an interesting idea and kind of leads into even the forming of the show itself.
Mhm.
Because you know, the space for SNL was made because Johnny Carson they were putting recaps of the week, essentially, like best of the week of the Tonight Show
Yeah.
on Saturday nights, so that they didn't have to produce 6 shows a week anymore. And then once Johnny Carson wanted to save some reruns to take more time off during the real weeks,
Mhm.
that opened up this gap on Saturday at 11:30, and here we are on SNL all these years later. So this is kind of similar in a way, where it's
Yeah.
like there's a reason this stuff is cut, but to put it on the air as like a new episode, I don't know. It's interesting, and it harkens back to the original reason this show was formed,
Mhm.
which then brings me to Saturday Night, Jason Reitman's movie about the first SNL to ever air. You've seen it, obviously, right?
No,
Did you get to see it?
I haven't seen it yet.
I thought you got to see it!
No, I haven't been able to.
Oh no, Caroline!
I know.
Oh,
kept
everyone's
meaning
throwing
to.
tomatoes
I know,
at
I
their
kept meaning
laptop.
to, and I just couldn't make it work timing wise.
That's okay. Honestly, you know what? It's been a busy October.
It
But
has.
okay, so instead of recapping it, I'm just
Okay.
gonna tell you gotta see this film.
I
It's
will. I will.
I know. I know. I
Yeah.
don't have to convince you for sure. But man, I was worried. I was
Mhm.
legitimately worried that it was going to try too hard to be funny itself, which comedy about comedy
Right.
for me tends to not work as well. Again, I am no expert, but it's just I don't really want that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, there's the danger of drama about comedy taking itself way too seriously.
Mhm.
And this does have its moments where it is a little self-important. you know, I was also thinking recently about like the whole that time period. I think in the 2010s, it was like the Daily Show effect, right?
Hmm.
Of Jon Stewart's shows at that time, which were incredible, were changing people's minds in a very real and tangible way.
Yeah.
So then it makes the bed for 2016 where it feels like there's no way
Right.
that
Yeah.
somebody like Donald Trump could win because everybody agrees with us. All our stuff is going viral. And then it's like, well, there's actually this whole other world. And both sides do it too. I'm getting a lot of like, you know, Donald Trump is posting polls that show him in the lead in swing states, in like every swing state, which might not necessarily be true. You know, these companies he's pulling from are things I've certainly never heard of. So it's like everybody exists in their own bubble.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought that this was going to be like a little, like I said, a little self-important, but I didn't get that vibe at all. And
Good.
it was very well done. The other thing that I found interesting is like the whole issue is that they have overstuffed this show, and where do you start and what do you cut and like what are we keeping? And the things that they show that they have cut from that first night is a lot of stuff that we don't end up seeing for years. So I don't think it's necessarily true. I think that was like they were finding places to put references to stuff that maybe like an older audience would be like, oh my gosh, I remember the Julia Child thing.
Right.
Yeah, but I like, so there's some things that I see and I'm like, I don't think that was necessarily supposed to go in night one.
Yeah.
But, you know, in terms of like referencing for the audience, like it was a fun look back, you know, to say the least. And then the last fun fact, because again, I don't want to spoil much. Obviously, it's spoiled regardless.
Right,
like
we know
live
what
from New York,
happens,
it's
but-
Saturday night.
Yeah, they pull it off somehow.
But they pull it off, yeah, and then and the rest is history. I like those. Every now and then I'll see a meme that's like a basketball game in black and white. It's like clearly from the 30s, and somebody's like, I'm watching the NBA from season 1. This is so boring. When does LeBron show up? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no, people aren't necessarily like to take it from the movie and be like, you know, I should see what its trajectory from day one. It's a bit of an undertaking, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so obviously that's the only thing that could be spoiled. They make the show. It's all good. But another fun fact, which do with this what you will, it's just the truth. So Gabriel LaBelle, who plays Lorne Michaels,
Right.
he was born in like, I want to say September of 2002, which makes him, which means that when he was born was after Will Ferrell already left the show.
That like hurts my feelings.
That's like a really weird time perspective because like,
yeah.
You're talking about someone who was born after several. I mean, obviously you could apply that to me too, but like several deaths and rebirths. Like the Will Ferrell presence on SNL was a golden age.
Yes.
And now here's someone playing Lorne Michaels who was born after that, which is like almost season 30, and it's just wild.
Yeah, that's
almost season 30, I think. Yeah,
that's pretty trippy. That's
it's trippy, and it's a testament to like just the longevity. Like stuff that old doesn't happen, you know, other than like sports broadcasts. So it's just wild. That was a weird thing to like discover and then think about how that fit into the context of the show. Just very, very interesting. So Saturday night, go see it, and then when you see it, you get to have your recap and your you have the floor on the Saturday night. Yeah. All right. So here we are. we have arrived at our official announcements. We're only 58 minutes in, Caroline. How you feeling?
Great.
Yeah, there's just been so much since last we spoke.
Yes.
So here's our first episode of the next round. We've got Bill Burr and McGee on November 9th. Now, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who McGee is. I have to admit,
Yeah,
and it's been
I don't either. Again,
such a long time since I didn't recognize a musical guest.
you're
It's
pretty
been
with it. You're pretty with the times.
It's been a long time since I was like, who?
Yeah. Because there's been times where like I haven't heard whatever new
Right.
song they have, but in
Right.
terms of like, I got nothing about this act in general.
Yeah.
It's new. It's pretty new. But yeah, so I had heard of MKG. I'm sorry, McGee. So we talked about this.
Yes.
I am so glad that Daryl Hammond, that we're taping after last night's episode, because I got to hear Daryl Hammond say it out loud.
Yes.
And when he said McGee, I was like, oh, because this hit me. And the reason I said MKG is because I saw it written. So I was like, MKG. My first thought was that someone had mistyped MGK
Right.
for Machine Gun Kelly. And then when I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's not a typo. I just don't know who this is. And now he's being announced on SNL. So yeah, Daryl Hammond almost saved my pronunciation of McGee, but of course I, biffed it right then. But yeah, so that, I mean, again, like I said, I like the opportunity that this presents a new act. Like,
Yeah.
whether or not the election is called by next Saturday, probably a pretty good turnout in terms
Yes.
of ratings.
I
And
think
also,
so.
Bill Burr has a lot of crossover appeal. So,
Yeah.
yeah, be very interesting to see what he does with the big stage, per se.
Yeah. Should be interesting.
Yeah. And then obviously Bill Burr. I really enjoy Bill Burr, and I was so impressed with his 2020 hosting.
Yeah, he did a great
like,
job.
Yeah, like stand-ups, you don't know how they're gonna do acting. And I was like, that might have been one of my favorite episodes of that season. Of season 46 was the one he hosted. And so my first thought was like, yeah, if you want to follow the Dave Chappelle post-election pattern of like, we need someone who will say anything and is not afraid of any subject, but you don't actually want to book Dave Chappelle,
Right.
then Bill Burr's your guy.
Definitely a
And,
less controversial choice
yes.
in that kind of
But
group of stand-ups.
Right. But still has that crossover appeal, like I
Yeah,
said.
definitely.
And I think that's going to do well. It's like a Nate Bargatze move, Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for that particular episode. Again,
Yeah, me
no matter
too.
what happens, but like, it's a toss-up whether we're even going to know
Do you think
the
he'll
results of
write
the
like
election by November
3
9th.
different monologues? One...
He'll probably write like 3 different openings, and then the rest of
Right.
it's just what he was going to do already.
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny, the live shows. So when I was at my internship, I got a little peek behind the curtain. It's very popular now for the late night shows to go live on big nights like election night, debate night, convention night, things like that. And we did a live show while I was there, and basically what happens is like they write 2 shows for the night.
Oh, okay.
They write something that's a little less topical, that was news that that's still on topic of what happened, but not necessarily the thing that happened 2 hours ago.
Right.
And then during the event, whatever's happening, whatever speech or whatever, then they're writing basically a whole new show. and they'll
Okay.
whatever they get from that, they put up front, and then for the B block, if you will, that fills in with whatever they had written prior. Or sometimes it's the back half of the first block is just the new stuff, and then it's a call in the moment, but at least they know they have something if what they're covering that night is flat.
Right. That makes sense.
So, Bill Burr, what we're saying is Bill Burr's got a lot of writing to do. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sure he's been working on this kind of material for a while anyway.
For sure. Yeah, Bill Burr and McGee, November 9th. And next, of course, how else is there to refer to the Charlie XCX hosted and musical guested episode? I have to credit this. I did not make this. This was a Twitter user at, pardon me here, Memesistential. The text is on the screen. Thank you for the meme. He actually posts a lot of really good stuff about SNL. So
I have seen some of his stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Bratterday Night Live, indeed. Going to be another, the toss-up is how she'll do in sketches, of course.
Yeah.
As with any, musician that ends up hosting. But, the performances are going to be, in terms of crowd involvement.
Yeah.
And, how into it the audience will be, pretty much Chapel Roan level. I see the Charlie XCX fans showing out for this one.
Do we think she does one song from the album and one song from the remix album?
Oh, interesting. That's a good question.
If
I don't know.
She's bringing out any special guests with her?
Well, speaking of special guests, a big thing during the Sweat tour, the tour she did with Troye Sivan, was that during Apple,
right.
she would cut to a guest cameo in the crowd that would do the meme dance, the piece that was viral on TikTok. And so would be interesting to see if she brings someone on to do that to match the vibe of the tour.
Yeah, that would be fun.
My vote is they cut to Bowen Yang as her doing the dance with the crowd in the background. I think that'd be really fun.
That would be perfect.
Yeah. So we'll see. Again, this is just purely speculation. Is what I would really get a kick out of. But you never know. I'm just excited to see Charlie. It's gonna be.
It'll
a good
be
time.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's. We only got 2 this time. We're not going to have to wait nearly as long until the next episode, and we won't have to cover as much either.
Right.
So in terms of things coming down the road, looking forward, you sent me this news article about Lorne Michaels, who all summer, all last year, was talking like this would be it for him after season 50, has found a second wind and might not be retiring after this season after all, which no one's telling him to go anywhere.
Right. Nobody's
so
saying,
if he wants to do more,
you should go, man.
Right. By all means, stick around. Just very interesting to see him kind of 180 like this. So no one really knows. Even he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He might be over it in May.
Yeah.
So. That was just an interesting headline to come out of the last month and a half or so. So yeah, looking forward. Look, election time is big, but Christmas is always really huge for SNL, and particularly in our 50th season. I want to call something out specifically though. I know I've been talking for 3 episodes now about how I see Sabrina Carpenter returning this year. And then she's going to pull off the improbable feat of doing 2 in a calendar year.
Yep.
But again, that album is so good. There's so much that would hit so hard being done live. I think it would be a blast to have her back. But here's the other thing. she announced about 2 or 3 weeks ago she's doing a Christmas special. I don't remember immediately offhand where this is airing, so if
I
you'll
believe it's
pardon me while I...
Netflix.
Yes, Netflix. Stream exclusively Friday, December 6th. So between a still very hot, very good album in Short and Sweet, and then the Christmas special coming December 6th, I also saw, I took a peek at the Short and Sweet tour website, and I was like, wow, would you look at that? A really big gap from November 18th to March.
Right.
The tour's pausing, Christmas special's coming, albums coming out. I am officially issuing a Sabrina watch on this podcast until further notice.
Yes.
That means so Sabrina warning is maybe this is a Sabrina warning because the conditions are right for Sabrina Carpenter. The Sabrina watch won't be issued until there are Sabrinas present in the area.
Confirmed Sabrina. I
got to check the tornado analogy with you famously from Tornado Land. Is that correct?
I've never been able to keep that straight, but I do think that you're right. Warning.
Yeah. I think the warning is conditions are right for a tornado.
Yes. And watch is go ahead and go get in the basement. Hang out there for a while.
A watch is like they have been seen. We've
seen something weird's going on up there.
Something suspicious here. So yeah, okay. So then I am officially issuing a Sabrina warning on this podcast. Hopefully, we can upgrade this to a watch in December.
Fingers crossed.
We'll see. So the last piece of news that came up, John Mulaney confirmed to be hosting another live variety show for Netflix, which I've been on this train.
Yep.
And I'm glad they did it because again, that show was when it was hit or miss, but when it was good, it was really good. Did you ever get to see any of that? Everybody's in LA?
I saw parts of it. I'm fallen victim to the Netflix household rules.
Oh,
so I'm still on my parents' Netflix, so I can't always watch it.
I don't want to say this specifically out loud because I've been gotten, admitting to things like this and then suddenly in a few days it gets canceled on me. But I've been okay still. So that's not, I can't say anymore because something I'm going to say some keyword that's going to get sent straight to headquarters and it's all going to be over. But yeah, I was excited to see that this is in the works and it to be determined whether it's exactly what I had talked about, which is like for the New York Comedy Festival. I assume it's not because that should be starting here very soon. It's a November thing. But still, however he would like to come back to Netflix to do live variety is perfectly okay with me.
Yes.
Oh, Caroline. Caroline. An hour and 12 minutes in.
Okay.
And now we've reached the, I wouldn't call it the flagship segment of our podcast because obviously this is a podcast that looks forward. We look to the future of what's to come, and we make our best guesses on what's happening. But we would be remiss not to recap just a little bit the 5 episodes that we've had so far this season. So are you rested and ready to look at these 5 episodes by the numbers?
I think so. Let me get everything in order real quick.
Okay, while you do that, I will tell the crowd that Charlie XCX, when this announcement was posted, maybe had my favorite celebrity retweet of their SNL announcement ever. She said very simply, "Oh, f**k." All right, now we're ready to do by the numbers. Caroline Morrison, buckle up. We're going to look at Gene Smart and Jelly Roll.
Okay.
By the numbers. First up, we've got the supercuts of the Harris and Trump rallies cutting back and forth. Much fewer debates. They had to get a little creative. I gave this a W, though. I think they did it well.
I also give this a W just for the reveal, person by person, of our new bonus cast members for the season.
I didn't even think about that because
Yeah.
we've seen so many episodes, but now we've seen it like Joe Biden as Dana Carvey, Tim Walz. It was perfect. I put the opening titles as a reviewable segment in here. These are brand new for
Yeah.
season 50. They're perfect. I loved them. W.
W, easy. They're fun, they're new, fresh, but they're still kind of paying homage to all the previous seasons.
Yeah, that's the cool part is they were referencing some previous opens in that. So
Yeah.
now we're in the Gene Smart monologue. I gave this an L, but a very light one. It wasn't that
Yeah.
bad, but there was so much excitement leading into this episode. You know, felt a little pared down.
I wanted a little more. I was expecting a little bit more.
Yeah, $100,000 pyramid. We're moving fast now. We're not going to take long on this. There's our Hawktua appearance, like we talked
we
about.
called it.
Unfortunate, but this just felt like a summer meme recap that I wasn't really feeling.
Yeah, it didn't do much for me.
Yeah, and some tech issues. We just saw the program feed ended up inside the monitor in front of them, which was a little bizarre. Spirit Halloween, Timeless, Universal, W.
W, I can't believe that it took until now to do it.
I know.
That's such
We've been,
a-
like people have been talking about Spirit Halloween for a while. Yeah.
It's crazy that hadn't already happened.
Right, it's just a phenomenon. Coming and going soon. Textbook writer. So this is Gene Smart as a erotica textbook author. This is a mixed bag for me. Some timing was off in the original airing of this, so I gave it a tie actually.
I gave it an L. It just felt odd. Just didn't quite get there for me.
Yeah, I that's kind of where I was too. So that was an L overall. Jelly Roll was fantastic. It was great visually. He was so crisp and so good. I loved it.
Yeah, he's great. I think he was a great choice for your first musical guest, especially fresh off of
Absolutely.
his performance at the Grammys.
VMAs maybe?
VMAs?
Something like that?
Something.
Yeah. A lot of crossover appeal too there. Weekend update jokes. Some good ones here. Michael Che is starting to push the line. But I did give it the W still.
Yeah, I gave it a W, but yeah, his whole thing is, I'm like, all right, we get it.
Yeah, getting old. The commentaries, though, fantastic in this one. We had
they were
Eric
great.
Adams and Mu Dang, which made me a little wary. I was worried they were going to get some backlash from Chapel, but I gave it the W.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how she was going to take that, but it seems like she's taking it okay.
They were hugging it goodnight, so
Yeah,
I think
they
we're
seem
all good.
good.
Next up, we've got a classic I Love Lucy. What'd you think?
It was good. It was solid, you know.
Yeah. Gene Smart played a really good, dramatic, over-the-top, almost soap actor kind of thing. We both gave it a W.
Yes.
Next up, we got the Talk Show with Charlie XCX. We might be seeing this again.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I gave this the W, even though it's another, meme dump. But I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it just kind of fell a little flat for me. I don't know. It was missing a little bit of something. I gave it an L, but that's a light L with a lot of love to Charlie.
Right, and I actually gave it a tie, so that is an L overall. That's my bad. This one had a lot of technical challenges with it, with the smoke from the fajitas, and that muddied up the story pretty well. I gave this an L.
I also gave it an L. It just felt pretty choppy to me. Not sure if that was it getting cut for time or what, but yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. Okay. And that's Gene Smart Jelly Roll by the numbers. We've got 7 wins, 5 losses, a win overall on the episode. So, anything we didn't discuss that you wanted to get it through? I liked Gene Smart as a choice, as a host choice. She seemed exasperated through a lot of it.
She did.
Like she just wanted it to be over.
Maybe live performance isn't her thing.
Isn't her bag, which is fine, totally fine. But yeah, other than that, like I found myself, digging Jelly Roll a lot more than like nothing other than the reveals, like you talked about, of the political impressions.
Right.
Nothing really like stuck. Haven't
Yeah.
rewatched much from that particular episode. Next up, we've got the next episode, Caroline, with it's two for 5. You ready?
Yes.
All right, so let's take a look at Nate Bargatze and Coldplay by the numbers. First up, vice presidential debate, cold open. You're starting to see the strain of the contractual cameos. Didn't mind it. I didn't end up minding it. I thought it was a good, watch from home vibe.
Yeah, I liked Bowen in this one a lot. Because JD Vance was really good in this. I gave it a W.
Yeah, he got to be front and center for that, which was great. Nate Bargatze monologue. I gave this the light L, just because I don't know. I wasn't sure. Just wasn't sure.
I'm a big fan of his, so super biased. But I gave it a W just because I love watching him do stand-up. So.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Washington's Dream. I came into this ready to roll my damn eyes, but honestly, I prefer it to the original.
Do you? They're pretty even for me. The original one was so popular. I couldn't believe that was the one that took off, but I liked this one too. I think it was fun.
Yeah, for sure. And him throwing James Austin Johnson off the boat was fantastic.
Yes.
Golf tournament, gave it a W.
I loved this one.
This was fantastic. It was like, you can't get too super technical about it. He's just like, everything's going wrong for Nate Bargatze's character, and it's perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, short, sweet, to the point. And I like the new, the visual look of that one, too.
Yes.
Sábado Gigante was a very authentic look. I haven't seen much of this show, but I've seen, clips. It was perfect. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. Nate's real dry, and that played perfectly to it.
Absolutely. Water Park reminded me of the Disposal of Remains sketch that Gerard Carmichael did. 2 thumbs way up. This was hilarious.
This was so funny. Making the audience come to the realization first.
Yes, that was thank you for putting that into words, because I was trying to think of how, why I appreciated that so much. I'm talking over Coldplay because I didn't feel like there was much here. It's just very Coldplay.
No, get Chris Martin's bare feet off of my TV.
That's so real. Weekend update. See, now we're caught back up. We can do this. We're good.
We got it.
Interesting audience here, because they reacted worse than the joke actually was for a lot of these in this particular episode.
Yeah.
But so I gave it the W.
I gave it a W. Weird audience, but I liked the jokes. I thought it was fun.
Yep. And then Jane Wickline is our only guest on this one. This took a bit for me to take off, but as an introduction to her style of comedy, it worked great.
Yeah, I hope that she does more of this. We get to kind of see how it plays on the show, how it fits in.
For sure. Mile High Challenge, crazy big W. I love Heidi Gardner doing insane and this was so good. Another good tone mismatch, which I'll talk about later.
Yes, I loved this one.
Yeah, definitely. Again, we'll get to it because this happens a few times. An SNL digital short.
Can you
My
believe?
only L is for the audience that didn't applaud at that title card, but the rest of it is classic Lonely Island.
Oh my god, I've never been so happy. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Leapt up from my couch.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's another Ann Golden era. Coach Allen. Coach Allen just wants money for the uniforms. Another great tone mismatch. And give me Michael Longfellow in that uniform any day of the week.
Iconic locker room set. So many of my favorites have been in this locker room set.
Peyton Manning, Will Forte dance. Is that what you're thinking of first off? That's the one. So let me go back a little bit to just the. I really liked the it's not necessarily fish out of water. I wouldn't describe it that way. It's more like now is not the time to be discussing this or doing this. And that vibe really carried through a lot of these segments. Sábado Gigante is very classic fish out of water, but Water Park Emergency, Mile High Challenge, and Coach Allen were all these maybe we don't talk about this right now kind of sketches.
Yeah.
Read the Room, yep. And it makes me wonder if there's like a writer in the staff that does really well striking that tone, or if it's an element of Nate Bargatze's comedy, and maybe you could speak more to that.
He is, like I said, he's a pretty, like, his delivery's pretty dry. He does, if you watch his stand-up, I think it probably was a mixture of a few specific people on the staff, but whatever they learned from the first time he hosted, and kind of what worked best for his kind of demeanor, because he's just a super, I've never seen him get, like, super amped up. He's always kind of at that one level.
Yeah, no, that's true. I get that. I got that tone from like his monologues and everything. So I preferred this whole episode to his original. Now I'm pumped to see him do a third. You know what I
I
mean?
know, yeah, me too. I think he's strangely gonna be a kind of recurring host. Not something I would have seen coming, but I mean, I'll take it, yeah.
Yeah. No complaints. Yeah, I had a good time. So I didn't break down the totals of that one, but that was a 10-win episode as it pertains to this podcast. 10 win, 1 loss, 1 tie. Definitely our best episode so far.
So far.
So another win overall for season 50. Are we being too easy on him? No, it was just that was my favorite episode of the stretch so far, I think.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, the big halfway point, hump day, if you will. The third of 5. Ready?
Yes.
Here we go. This is Ariana Grande and Stevie Nicks by the numbers. First up, Family Feud sketch. In the absence of a debate, again, they're doing what they can. I didn't need the CNN open.
No.
Overall, I felt like it was an L for me.
It's a nice enough concept, but it just didn't really do much with the concept.
It should have just started up as that, and then everyone really only got one line. It was kind of it was quick because it was long.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande monologue. I could not commit here because I'm too familiar with Justin Timberlake's version of this monologue, and just wasn't sure. It was the stuff they had was fine. I gave it a tie, and you gave it an L.
I did. I'm pretty tired of them having her on doing the same 3 impressions.
I can appreciate that for sure. Oh, here's the meme one. Bridesmaid
This is
speech.
the one.
I liked it, and boy, so did the stands. W.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. There's a reason it went super mega viral.
Exactly, because it was really good, and Ariana Grande doing intentionally bad singing was crazy.
So
our first midnight matinee, more on that later, but my best friend's house, this took a while to develop.
I had kind of no clue where it was going for about half of it.
I wasn't sure if they were going to just go full, like, full earnest on that one. This is my, we gotta stop. This was getting away from us because I need the full 20 seconds to talk about charades with mom. This was perfection. Loved every insane turn. Loved that it ended with the makeout, which was crazy.
That was
Unexpected. And so we're gonna do something new on this program where I'm gonna give my sketch of the season badge to charades with mom.
Yeah, no, it was great. Apparently inspired by Ariana Grande's mother and how she actually behaved at a game night, which is a little scary.
I read that too, and that was wild. Maybe we don't want to know more about that.
Does that make Bowen Yang Frankie Grande in that situation?
Frankie?
Or would Bowen be
Beats me.
Frankie's husband? I don't know.
Oh yeah, Michael Longfellow would be Frankie.
It was Michael
That's
Longfellow,
true.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Two new cast members were in it, but not really.
Just a few lines
kind
here
of
and
in there,
yeah.
in the mix, but I mean, it was Bowen and Ariana's show.
Oh, for sure. For sure. When that makeout hit, dear God, the room went crazy, and so did I. My jaw dropped. I also, just Michael Longfellow playing gay gives a guy something to look forward to. Anyway, maybe one day. No, just kidding. So the Celine Dion UFC promo, pretty random.
Yeah.
But if they gotta work in Celine's impression, the Celine impression, this is fine. I did give it the L ultimately.
Yeah, I could have done without it.
Yeah, same. Stevie Nicks. This was rough
Yeah.
in the sound mix.
Yeah.
Live. I don't know if you watched this live, but and I don't know if it could have been audio on my end. It just seemed so she was way too loud. It wasn't mixed very well.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Too many people standing out. But it
Yeah.
was mixed better for Peacock. So I gave it the tie, you gave it the W, because it's Stevie.
It's Stevie.
Weekend update, the jokes. Michael's 90s jokes have finally, kind of crossed the line a little bit. I gave it the L.
Yeah, I gave it a tie just because it was fine. It wasn't terrible, but there was nothing that really
Yeah.
made me laugh that much, so.
I feel like I got to give the L at least once here for this stretch. Commentary, Ego as the Amazon worker, loved it. Did not care for the Oasis bit, so I gave it a tie.
I liked the Oasis bit a lot.
Oh, okay. Well,
Those men
ultimately
are-
it gets the
Yeah.
W.
Those men are insane.
So maybe it's just my unfamiliarity.
They're crazy.
Yeah. Good to know. Castrati. I was on the fence until Andy referred to Keenan by name. And then it won me over.
Yeah, that shored the whole thing up for me.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge for Maybelline. Yet again, another fence rider until Dana Carvey shows up.
Dana Carvey was an interesting addition to it. I just think I'm done with Jennifer Coolidge impressions. I'm good.
That's true. Everyone's trying one these days, so I get that.
We've done enough of it. I think I'm okay forever, maybe.
Yeah, hey, that's totally fine. And finally, the Hotel Detective. This was exactly the right strange one to end with. W.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere that it was just the recorded version from Dress because of some timing issues. 'Cause there was that
Interesting. And
very long gap before Stevie's second song. And I think it kind of messed with what they had planned.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to read more about this because I didn't know. I did see, we showed a quick hit of it. I'll put the still back up now of we caught a little cue card in this, which made me assume that it was live. There was a shot that lingered a bit too long that Andrew Dismukes walked out of.
Oh.
And we saw the cue cards kind of move in to fill that frame.
Oh, yeah, I do remember seeing that.
And so that's what made me assume it was live, just because, that's a technical thing that's going to happen in the moment. But I have to look this up because that's really interesting if they had to dump out to this pre-recorded version.
Yeah, and I saw that on Twitter, so, grain of salt, but that's just what I saw.
Yeah, interesting. But the fact that this stayed in the YouTube upload, this shot of the cue card, makes me think that it is the only version.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So I don't know. And they're able to edit, and there are so many reasons why they couldn't take the next camera, even in editing. It might not have been ready. It might not have been aimed at the right place. And this was just the best looking shot that they had in the moment. I have experienced that a lot. So, and literally anything could have happened, but I will be interested to read up on whether or not this was dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the only other thing here is, this was a question I had before last night. I was wondering if the Saturday night midnight matinees were something that were kind of here to stay.
Yeah.
And now that it's happened twice, which we can talk about later, I think I know what the through line is. These are literal short films. These aren't quick hits like The Lonely Island used to give us. Yeah. These are long. These are full stories just on tape.
They do take a second, the ones that we've seen so far. It's not just an immediately here's the joke, and then in a minute and a half you're done.
I'm on the fence. I'm still on the fence. I cannot give it the W or the L just yet.
Right, we've only seen two, so it's
matinees.
Might need some more. Might need some more data before I make a decision on that.
Yeah, true. This particular one got the W from us.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked ahead, but I don't think the second one will. But I'm getting ahead of myself, Caroline. We're on our 4th episode of the week. Are you ready?
I think I am.
Okay. Oh, and I didn't say it out loud. I'll try to show it in the edit. But Ariana Grande, 8 wins, 4 losses. Ultimately, a win on the season. Next up, we've got Michael Keaton and Billie Eilish by the numbers. First up, Fox News interviewed by Brett Baer or Alec Baldwin.
Jump
Very
scares.
surprising to see him come up first, but I gave this a W.
Yeah, I gave it a W. Baldwin's got someone has his back at SNL.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that they did those like tosses to clips. Those clips were still live, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that was good.
Michael Keaton monologue. There wasn't much here, but at least Andy got the BJ on SNL. I gave it the L though.
I loved the crack about Sarah's outfit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I
that
gave
was
it
so
an
good.
L though.
Yeah, overall.
Mhm.
Great bumper though.
Yeah,
Now we got Shop TV Halloween cookies, filthy and wonderful W.
loved it. I want to know how many phone calls they had with Standards to decide what they
To
could
do
and
the
could not
icing
do.
shot that we're gonna see. Yeah. There it is. TVMA.
Yeah.
That might have been a legal requirement in addition to a joke. And then we got Please Don't Destroy. Welcome to season 50. Please Don't Destroy.
They're finally here.
They're finally here. This was a good one. And
Yeah.
I think it's the first time they've played themselves. Or
Maybe.
they haven't played themselves.
Right,
Excuse
they
me.
haven't. Yeah. Every
Yeah.
other time they're just in their office.
Right, it always starts there and then something crazy happens. But,
Yeah.
very interesting one to start their season.
Mm-hmm.
Forbidden Romance. This, a lot of people were saying this on Twitter, didn't realize how crazy that song is
You
until
get to
it was
really
put in this
listen.
context.
Yeah, you got to listen to those lyrics, and then you're like, oh,
Yep. And boy, did we.
Yes.
More on the end of this sketch later. Just remind me.
Okay.
TikTok. I think the earlier versions of this had a better overarching story, so
Yeah.
this one got the L from me.
yeah. I gave this L. I didn't like the earlier ones that much either. It feels a little bit like a filler.
Yeah.
But out of the ones they've done, this one was not my favorite. I also gave it an L.
Yeah, okay, now we got Billie Eilish, both performances. There was more rough audio trouble on the live version of this broadcast, but the opposite of Stevie Nicks, where I could almost not hear Billie at all.
It kind of happens
but
on her.
Visually, yeah, true. Visually, she always brings it, so I did like it.
Yeah, Billy's great. She's always good on SNL.
Yeah. Weekend update, the jokes, great bits in here, and I like that the National No Bra Day is recurring at this point.
Yes, that
It's
is
like,
good.
It's such a bad joke, but it makes me giggle. It's
That
so stupid.
candle bit that Michael did, that got the W for me, just all on its own.
Yeah. Very good. And now we got the commentary, Emil and Sarah Sherman. The Emil one I wasn't sure about. It was pretty rough, and it was rough in the room.
Yeah, I don't know that that was the right crowd to do that to. But I'm hoping he takes another
Yeah.
crack at it at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk about that more later. Think about it. The Uber game show. When Ego's got a crazy voice or a wild temper, I'm seated.
Yeah, I'm just like, let Ego do her thing. I'm gonna love it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Perfect. No notes. Horror choreographer, our last sketch of the evening. I didn't have a lot of strong feelings here, but I love when the host is down to do something a little crazy. And that's what happened.
Really had Mikey as the star of this one. The movement of his body was just
absolutely.
like mesmerizing to me.
He'd be
What is
popping
he
that
doing?
booty. Yeah. I'm sorry, this is the last sketch of the evening. Tableside guac. I could take or leave this one, but Heidi yelling at Ashley Padilla towards the end was funny. It was good.
That was good. I gave
Landed
this
the
one.
plane.
Yeah, I gave this one a tie just because there wasn't anything that stuck out enough for me to make it a
Yeah,
W.
so Michael Keaton, Billie Eilish gets 9 wins, 2 losses, 1 tie, which is I understand it, but I wouldn't say it's consistent with my feelings overall on the episode. You know?
Yeah.
Just interesting to see the way the totals shook out. Like the Nate Bargatze episode was probably my favorite of the season so far,
Yeah.
and that's at 10 wins. So,
Right.
you know, we're working out how this rubric is
Maybe we
really
need
going
to
work.
be a little harsher.
But it's possible. It's possible. But yeah, so let me go back to Forbidden Romance. So at the end of Forbidden Romance, in the live copy of that episode, someone shouts something long after the applause dies down after Forbidden Romance, and I'm like, what just happened? And then there's like a little bit more applause. He said, Dismukes! Just some guy in the crowd shouting out Andrew Dismukes because he led so hard in that sketch, thanking him for his efforts. And then there was like another little surge of applause. But I thought that was kind of cool.
That's nice. That's sweet for Andrew.
Yeah. It happened well into the TikTok roll, too. So it was like, what? Someone's just shouting? Like, what's going on? Yeah. One more time? But what else were we talking about that I found really... Oh, yeah, Emil Joachim. So I am almost positive that this has to be a stand-up bit.
It is. I saw a video of him doing it at the Comedy Cellar.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, this is like something he's had on the back burner for a while. And I know that Leslie Jones... did you ever see... There was a documentary they produced for the 40th season called Live from New York.
I don't know if I ever watched the documentary.
And you can't find it anywhere, but it was pretty good. It follows an instance that I feel matches this pretty closely, where Leslie Jones had done an old stand-up bit of her. She auditioned with it about like it was her dating struggles and how like if she, as Leslie Jones, had lived in the time of slavery, it would have been ultimately better for her. This is what the bit was. And she talks to a camera in that documentary at the end of it, and she was just like, it played well in the room, and she was just beaming. She's just looking at the camera, and specifically she goes like, I wrote that bit in a moment of pain, like 10 years ago. And to see it get that sort of reaction in this crowd, she was extremely proud in that moment. But Twitter did not agree.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly.
It was a lot for people to take and kind of ruin the experience for her.
Yeah.
It was like her big first Weekend Update piece. And so that was the first thing I thought of, except for the fact that like this one really didn't go well in the room.
Yeah.
There was I heard someone like go, ooh, like he didn't boo necessarily. He just kind of was like ugh. Yeah,
I think
like
it
a
maybe
pain
was
response.
just not the right crowd for that.
I also, it might not have been the right time.
Yeah.
It's still such a sensitive situation in with the Palestinian like fight that it didn't feel like the right time. I think that particular part of it was more to be criticized than the part where he was talking about, discovering oneself in a situation of turmoil like that. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something about like LGBT representation and feeling like, and I agree with what he was talking about there. It's a bit of a luxury that we have in a time and place of peace to get to reflect on oneself, to and learn things and self-acceptance and stuff like that when your life and livelihood and country is in danger. You don't have the time to necessarily or the space mentally to reflect on those kinds of things.
Right.
And I think that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
But people did take that and was like, oh, he's saying that LGBT people don't exist in the Middle East, and which is like absolutely not true.
No, that unsurprisingly,
but just
people
not
on
a
the
lot
internet took things out of context and
Yeah, what do you know? You know. So huge mixed bag with Emil Wakim, but like
Yeah.
especially with the way I remember Leslie Jones talking about that moment in the interview, that was what I thought of first. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, you know, his first big direct to camera thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he tries stand up at Update again, because that works
Oh
for
yeah.
a lot of people, and I don't know when he'll do it, but I hope that he
hmm
takes another crack at it.
Yeah, it's actually something that I don't know if it was. I think it was Chris Rock talked about. Like, you know, he wasn't getting a lot of sketches on. I don't remember where I heard him discuss this. It might have been the SNL book. This one right here. I have it right here.
Oh yeah.
He has an interview in there where he was like struggling to get his sketches on, but he was like, "This isn't my genre.
Yeah.
You know, this is
yeah.
tough." And I think he had a conversation with Lorne, and Lorne was the one that told him, bring something to Update.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
a 2-minute stand-up set right there. And you're looking straight down the camera, your name's on screen.
Mm-hmm.
You can like make a name for yourself just doing that. And a lot of people have followed that playbook ever
Yes.
since. Like Pete Davidson is
That
the
was-
one that comes to mind most
Yeah,
recently.
that was kind of Pete's whole thing. I don't know that he really ever did many sketches where he wasn't just a side character, you know?
Yeah.
I think his thing
So-
was mostly stand up.
Yeah, it's a blueprint that works. I bet Sarah Sherman does a lot on the Weekend
Yes,
Update desk
yeah.
as herself. You know, I don't mind it at all. You know, you can leave the characters to Heidi and Ego and
Right.
you know people who just do that. You know, so yeah, I would hope to see Emil try that again soon.
Yes.
You know, yeah, I don't think it's like a deal breaker for anybody.
Right.
So now we're getting up to the minute SNL coverage. This episode aired last night at 11:30. Caroline, are you ready to do John Mulaney and Chappell Roan
Yes.
by the numbers?
I am.
First up, the classic cold open starts as Donald Trump coverage and ends with the real Kamala Harris. This one's a historic one. W.
Easy. Yeah. This
Easy,
was great.
so easy. And maybe, again, more to come, but maybe a send-off of Andy and Dana's and Jim Gaffigan's roles. We'll
Right.
see. John Mulaney monologue, a light W here. I gave it a lowercase w, in fact, which still goes in as a W, but the jokes about the older people fell flat, but I did like his commentary about his grandpa
He's working out
being rejected
material,
from World War II.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yep. This is sixth
That's a
time.
W.
What do you expect?
Yeah.
What's that name making its return after about 5 years? I thought this meant Bill Hader was coming,
I was
but
hoping.
didn't happen. That's okay. But Tim Kaine was incredible.
Tim
this.
Kaine was a great get.
Might be my favorite rendition of this so far. Might.
Yeah, it was good.
I'll have to review. Yeah. Here's another midnight matinee. Beppo. Good old Beppo. I gave it an L. An L for long.
It was very long. I'm personally super anti-monkey. I think they're really creepy. So this really was like not for me.
Yeah, that was not your sketch.
No.
The Dwayne Reed musical, I have a lot of opinions about this. We'll talk about them later. I didn't need more than Diner Lobster. It works as an ode to New York, but as a resident, I don't find the quirks of the city all that charming. I don't think they need to be sung about.
They're running out of songs. They're running out of
Yeah.
well-known songs.
That's absolutely true. Chappell Roan, Chappell Roan, Chappell Roan. I was like emotional watching the audience
yeah.
sing along to this.
This was incredible.
I mean, I can believe it because she's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But I was in like awe
And a
of both
new
of these
song.
performances. Yes,
Wow.
huge risk, and it absolutely went extremely well. These jokes were very sharp, and Michael Che, your popsicle joke was incredible. Change nothing.
That was my favorite joke.
Yes. I have to pause it. He got on his Instagram story and was like, the audience was wrong. popsicle was a great joke. And I'm
It
like,
was.
yes, it was.
It
You
was.
stand by that. Those people, I don't know what they were thinking, not laughing at popsicle. It was perfect. It was the classic Michael Che, like, stupid and hilarious.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite jokes that come from him.
Mm-hmm.
Popsicle. Commentary. I love an insane Heidi. Heidi is Reba. And a huge moment for Jane. I loved that
This
character
was great.
of hers.
This is my
Yeah.
kind of ideal relationship. This is exactly what I'm looking for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a
Perfect.
template now.
Yeah, exactly. That's the image in mind. Sitcom pioneers. This was the third live sketch and also the third recurring sketch, which is interesting total. Everything Keenan's Little Richard said had me rolling.
It was great. Let him do what he wants. Let him be somebody like insane that doesn't fit in
Yeah.
with the rest of the cast. Like,
I'm sorry
love
that your
it.
goddamn dog died. So good. I thought they were joking. This is a real guy.
I can't
This
believe
is a
that.
legitimate candidate for city council. Harvey Epstein.
I can't believe.
And he retweeted it this morning.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it. It was fantastic.
It was
All
great.
the double, is it double entendre? I don't know. It's just calling Manhattan Epstein's Island was a fantastic closer. So that brings us to 8 wins, 2 losses, a win on the night. So here's our look at all of season 50 so far. That is 5 wins, 0 losses. They're pitching a no-hitter so far here in season 50. And I'm having a blast. This is part of the reason why I started the podcast in the first place. I wanted to cover this season. I felt something good in the air. And I know you agree.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Let's see what's to review in here. The what's that name? The meta commentary, not even meta commentary, the commentary of the piece was sharp.
Oh, yeah.
That was a scathing read on just the liberal experience. I mean, people, I feel like people know who Tim Kaine is largely. I would hope they do. But their fake out of calling him, saying audience, what's that name? Tim Scott. I was like,
it had me for a second. I was like,
Am
no,
I?
it was Clinton Kane, I swear.
Yeah, I'm like, am I misrecognizing him? Like, what? It had me going for a good 5 seconds, and then of course the reveal. I'm actually Tim Kaine. He was really great. I'm glad he was down to do that. But similar to the Chapel Roan Mudang thing, to bring it all together,
full circle.
I think on its surface, it feels like a slam on Tim Kaine. But what you find out by listening to the message of the sketch and what Tim Kaine understood too, is that is a criticism, an apt criticism of the left, which is very loud participation of what's popular.
Yes.
And then when it's no longer in the cards, it kind of goes away.
Right.
Big criticism of Jill Stein's Green Party right now.
Yeah.
Would the American people love a third option? Yes. But she's trying to run for the highest office in the land. That party is trying to run for the highest office in the land, and we don't hear from them in an off year. If
we want a third
goes
option,
together.
I mean, there's a great third option. RFK Jr.
You're right. Why? How could I have misremembered?
We have
Forgot
our
about
third
him.
option.
Yeah. What more do you want? Yeah. So, man, I was glad he was down to do that and really sold it too. And Michael Longfellow in a suit. Okay. Sorry. I'm showing my cards here. Hey, I'm innocent. Okay. Wow. So 5. We did 5 by the numbers. I don't see us doing this many in one sitting again. So congratulations on making it to the end here. We really did that. So now let's move on to, that's by the numbers. Well, let's move on to in other media. mind if I go first? It's very
Yeah,
election
go for it,
season
yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
So I'm not watching this yet. I have actually been sitting on a rewatch of this for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
I rewatched the whole season and then the whole series, skipped a season so that I could watch it at a very particular time
Right.
because felt like it was going to be apt. The show is Veep and the season is 5.
Mm-hmm.
I hope to God you've all seen Veep. If not, turn this off and go.
Go
And
watch
don't
7
stop
seasons.
until it's done. Yes, you can do it. It'll take you one night probably, overnight.
Yeah,
You don't sleep. You watch Veep and you go to work.
it's fine.
So I'll be rewatching season 5. This is season 4 ends on election night. The election ends in a tie. Now,
Yes.
I don't wish that on anybody, but commentators have broken down the fact that a 269
Mm-hmm.
is plausible in this year's election.
Yep.
Terrifying. Hope it doesn't happen, because what's going to happen then is a lot of lawsuits, a lot of recounts, a lot of just the drama we felt since at least March.
Yeah.
Probably further. Will continue in
Yeah.
a huge way through January if a tie comes to pass. But Veep is actually very accurate on what happens in the event of a tie.
Mm-hmm.
So it is hilarious. It's insightful. You'll probably learn something, because I definitely didn't know about any of this.
No.
No election in my lifetime has come down to a possible tie.
Right.
So the fact that they broke this down in like pretty accurate fashion, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but I actually can't wait when Tuesday comes and passes, when I can officially start my season 5 rewatch. I'm excited.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be very timely.
Very timely. I mean, I hope it's not super timely,
Yeah.
but election season is
Right.
when you have to watch season 5. Like it's just the right time. And that's all I got on Veep. Good luck to everyone, to us all, on Tuesday, November 5th. Caroline, you're up.
Yeah, the TV show that I actually just finished it. It just came out with the last episode. Is Bad Monkey.
Ooh.
It's on Apple
Bad
TV.
Monkey.
So if you haven't heard of it, it's because it's on Apple TV.
Yeah, fair.
It's got Vince Vaughn, and he's like this detective, PI, restaurant, like health inspector guy in the Keys. And he basically gets embroiled in this missing persons case that obviously turns out to be way more complicated than you think it's going to be, and on and on. And
Okay.
it's just a fun little crime comedy thing, but it's just full of insane characters. Like, it's got Meredith Hagner from Search Party. Rob Delaney is in it in like a big way, playing just like an insane person. And yeah, it's just, there's gators, there's Alex Moffat as a realtor. I mean, it's got everything.
Count the list. Gators,
Yeah,
Alex
right.
Moffat, end of list.
There's some
Perfect.
people in it from Oklahoma, so that's something for me. Draws me in a
Nice.
little. But yeah, it's
Yeah, exactly.
it's just a good time. I don't know if it's gonna be kind of a serial, next season will be a different crime. Not sure if it's even been renewed yet. It just ended.
Okay.
But it was just really fun. I'm not a huge Vince Vaughn person typically, but something about this one, it just did it for me. It was good. Highly
Interesting.
recommend.
Yeah, I was in the party of hadn't heard of it yet. Which,
Yeah.
Apple TV.
Yeah,
Apparently they have a very extensive catalog, but I wouldn't know. No, yeah, that sounds really interesting. It sounds like fun. So just the one season's out, right?
Yeah, the first season just ended. Yeah.
Nice. Very exciting. We'll see. Sounds like fun. And of course the search party through line. I like that.
Yes. Yeah, she's like truly crazy in this show. She's crazy in Search Party too, but this was like up a notch. And she has this little bitty dog that's kind of like my dream dog. So, helps.
Now I have to see the dog. I gotta. Here's
think
what I'm
it's a
waiting for to
Pomeranian.
renew. Oh, okay. I will be renewing my Apple TV
Hmm.
once Severance comes out. More on that in a few months when I
Yeah.
can put it in this segment.
Yeah.
Because I'm not watching it now, but boy, will I be watching it when it comes out. Are you up on Severance?
No, I haven't watched the first season, but I still have like 3 months to do it.
Yeah, true. Plenty of time. And you're already subscribed. There you go.
I
See?
know. There's so much on there that I gotta do some deep dive on Apple TV, see what I'm
Yeah.
missing.
True. Maybe you'll have Severance for
Yeah.
next episode. That'll be
Yeah.
your show that you're watching this time next month or whatever. Oh man, Caroline, a marathon. We New York City Marathon was today, so that's
Oh,
apt.
yeah.
But we made it 2
We did
hours
it.
in. Thank you so much for all of your analysis this time.
Mhm.
This has been fun. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good to see how this year plays out.
Yeah, it's a good start, you know?
Yeah,
I think we're off to
sure.
the races.
Yep. And it's, like you break it down overall, all wins, but each episode a mixed bag, and that's Saturday Night Live, baby.
Yeah, that's
just
SNL.
how it goes. Yep. All right. Well, we will probably see all of you. Let's look at a calendar and make a prediction when we're going to see.
I know, I was just thinking.
Let's see. How about November 22nd? We'll see you on November
Sounds
22nd.
right. That sounds right.
just a guess. All right. Caroline, I salute you as I saluted Bowen Yang. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Goodbye.